Greetings. I'm actually going to try and do this to the lens rather than looking over to the side all the time. Today's Friday, and so I take these off because there's too much reflection. Reflecting is what we're going to do very, very quickly. There was a big build-up to last night, and you know I did see some of it. I don't know how much of it was true or whatever. You tend to sort of see the exaggerations sometimes. But, you know, quite a few people who blog about Newcastle United were getting death threats off Evertonians, which, let's just get that out of the way and say that that's pretty fucking pathetic. I mean, I dislike Manchester United with a passion, you know, and it really, really is a deep passion. It's one of those situations that as a kid, I wish to Christ I wish Brighton had beaten the bastards now in '83. It would have been really funny to see them having to squirm the way out of that defeat, you know, losing to a team that were then fucking relegated would have just been poetic. God knows. Gary Bailey's legs saved Manchester United from humiliation. Anyway, Everton got fucking schooled last night, and I can remember us getting thumped by them with Wayne Clark, relative of Alan Clark, if my memory serves, actually, Wayne Clark. This was the Everton team who were around about Howard Kendall, 87, 88, something like that. Lineker had gone by then. He'd gone by Barcelona. I think his last game was the 86 Cup final defeat. Whatever way you look at it. Anyway, Everton got thumped, and they're a team that, like Villa, they're one of those ones we just can't seem to get the upper edge on when we're away from home. And there are other teams we can seem to go to visit. Now, I've just been talking to a girl today, which everyone's going to go, my missus probably would do as well, but actually, it was to buy a pair of fucking trainers, and I've done the unthinkable and spent 20 quid in Fat Cashley's fucking shithole, his emporium of fucking tat. But the fact is that it's a choice between that or buying your trainers and shoes on, which I know fun well won't last more than a few weeks. So, bollocks. Footwear's footwear. You know, and if there were a pair of buckets with laces on them and they were waterproof, I wouldn't give a shite who sells them. Blah-de-blah. Anyway, the fact is the bastard's gone. He's had 20 quid out of me, but he won't get another 20 quid if the shoes are shite. End of story. So, get to the point of this. I'm talking away to this young lady serving me and whatever, and she says she sees the top, and she's like, oh my God, you'll blah. She's a Chelsea fan. I'm like, actually, I feel a bit of sympathy for you. You know, it's not your fault who owns you. You know, you've gone from, it's not your fault the Ukraine war meant you ditched who you had in charge, but his links are controversial, blah, 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 blah. They end up with, and I said, look, I don't envy you, that fucking maniac of a fucking owner. You know, angry they've got Mudryk out of us. Fuck. You know, I'm really thinking, oh, we could look in for Mudryk, but, you know, there are other players. But Christ, you know, and she said, oh, it was amazing. I said, well, didn't you see, have you watched the highlights? Because if you see anything, Isak, fuck. I bitched and moaned about that bloke at the start of this season because I was thinking, fuck, he gets knocked over. Is he one of those, please don't let him be another Kieran Dyer. Please don't be another, I know he's not a Michael Owen for various other reasons, but please don't be another Kieran Dyer. You know, means well, but spends most of his time in the fucking sick bay. You know, Darren Anderton was the original sick note, wasn't he? Tottenham. He looked wonderful at Portsmouth. He goes to Tottenham and he's fucking hopeless. No one ever sees the fucker half the time. And I know it's sorry, but it's like, let's have another laugh at fucking Tottenham. Christ. You know. But, Christ. Isak. Oh, here's weird. There's a magpie just fucking landed over there on his own. Yeah, the other one's here, alright, there's two of us. How's the wife and family, pal? Unbe-fucking-believable. There's a fucking magpie. He's over there near that shopping trolley. Fucking unbelievable. Pretty thing as well, but they're pretty birds anyway, to be fair to them, you know. But that jinking around all those fucking players. I mean, I know they're shit. These teams are shit if they're kind of, but oh, God, how do we lose to Sheffield Wednesday? You know, and realistically, how do we lose that Carabao final? And yet, last night, they turned up. They did fucking turn up, and people are like coming back from Merseyside going, just unbelievable. They've done it again, you know. Now, I posted this on social media in a few places, and I think you've got to remember, you know, those of you that may follow the things I say, but all I've ever known is nothing but derision and ridicule and, oh, your fucking team, blah, 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 and like, no, not anymore. And we got good players that were shite. So if they're playing properly, what are we going to do if we actually really do get some quality, you know? If we are going to end up with these Diabys and Madisons and so on and so forth, do we really need them? You know, I've posted this once already about Harry Kane. I was saying about this last Friday, and someone saying, oh, we should... Look, it's up to him. If he wants to leave London and come up there and do it, like, that's good. That's fine. No one's going to say we don't fucking want the guy, because, you know, he seemed to be the only bloke on Sunday that showed up. But no, not at the values that they want from him. It's like, well, no, we can afford it, but why the fuck should we pay? Why should we pay that kind of money? He's brilliant, but let some other fucking mugs buy him and spend fuck knows how much on the fucking wages. You know? I know Isak's a lot of money. Isak proved why he was valued at £63 million last night, running around those players, because he'd put them all behind him. And Ricky VR and all that stuff, the FA Cup final and everything, bollocks, mate. Not a fucking hope in hell. Forget it. Your moment has fucking passed. He outdid Giggs last night with that thing. I'm going to be bold enough to say he outdid the Giggs and the tearing the t-shirt off and fucking round that horrendous. Oh no wonder people ban players taking their tops off. Giggs, but no, I mean that was just, and he just had it. The ball was stuck to his feet, you know. And I've likened this to already that as a kid of the 70s who rather belatedly but got into reading Roy of the Rovers, you know, Scorcher magazines and all that other stuff. It really is. It's fucking. It's Eddie. It's Eddie's Rovers. You know, it's Eddie of the Rovers. I know we're not Rovers, but Christ, what a performance! And I can't get used to the idea that we're actually going to places and competing. It's still something like, is this dream going to end? And is it going to become such a big blow when we do finally land down on planet Earth again? You know, because we literally, fans of other clubs can't seem to appreciate, oh, you're going to have your open top bus tour. If need be, fuck it. Yeah, we will have a fucking open top tour. Do you know why? Because we've done it with fuck all. We've done it with one very, very precious thing, and that's with a coach who believes in his fucking players, has turned it all round and said, what can you do for this club? What can you do for your fucking self? Not what the club can do for you. What can you do for this club? These fans will do anything for you if you can do something for your fucking self. You'll prove to them what you're fucking worth. And Joe Linton has doubled his value this season. No fucking question about that at all. That takedown on Sunday from that pass, again, saying to that girl, that Chelsea fan girl working at Sports Direct, and I said to her, so we ought to look these up. And I also gave her a laugh because she's being a Chelsea fan, doesn't like Spurs. I said, look up somebody called Henry Wright Television and watch his reactions. You can't help but feel sorry for this poor lad. Oh, fucking hell! You know, it was all, oh, fucking hell! It's free! How the fuck? We're making Murphy look like fucking Steven Gerrard! You know, oh. But the whole thing is just, this is alien territory. You've got to remember, this is, Geordies cannot get used to the idea of being brilliant, all right? The fucking team is never fucking brilliant. All the lower non-league teams are fucking brilliant. If we ignore Darlington, of course, Hartlepool may be down there next season. But teams in the northeast, it's usually the amateur teams that are fucking brilliant. We've had a succession of winners in the Vars, you know, between Whitley Bay, North Shields, South Shields, Dunstan, you name it. There's been teams from, but the professional side, fucking hopeless, blah, blah, blah. Nobody wants to come there. But that's half I think that's half the advantage now. They have to travel all that fucking way. I mean, those Tottenham fans going home after 20 minutes. Like, I know the misery of being 5-0's pretty hard to take, but God knows, you know, Try some of the local people out and talk to them. They might think, oh yeah, you're a Spurs fan, but hey, never mind. Hey, you've had one game. We've had 15 bastard years. And then prior to fucking Keegan coming and taking over, we had those other miserable years in between. You know? Fucking hell. Losing to Bournemouth I'll never forget that. We lost to Bournemouth in an FA Cup tie. Back when Bournemouth were in the 3rd and 4th tier. Penalties. Lost in a fucking penalty shootout in the freezing cold. Do you think that could get any more miserable as a football fan to have gone through 2 or 3 replays, get to up to the 3rd replay, lose penalties, fucking penalties, man. This is you're talking about the days here when Beardsley had long gone. You know, late 80s. It was Beardsley had gone, Gazza had gone, the whole lot had gone. Neil McDonald had been sold to Everton. We didn't have a team anymore. What we did have was Roy Aitken having to fucking practically drag this sorry sack of shite. Proper sorry sack of shite. And we're talking about here with this top, all right? I've looked into that because it'd be a little bit before my time. But the days of Richard Dennis, anybody who's old enough, older than me, to have actually experienced that deserves this season. Anybody who went through that 78 season, 77, 78, okay? Richard Dennis, he was a school teacher, some shit or other, all right? They'd sold Alan Kennedy, the Leazes End, the open terrace, the covered terrace, ripped down, the whole bloody... That club were a fucking mess. And I mean, I'm kidding you not. I'm sure it was something like, I don't know how many games they won. Their points total was fucking atrocious. Where you played 42 games. And it was way below the average. I mean, I think for the Premier League, it's somebody like Palace or Sunderland hold the worst record of from being relegated. You know, your likes of your Swindons and Barnsleys and that. But that was awful. That was where, you know, and from what I gathered, they deserved to be down, you know. But fans moaning now are going like, you know, in a way, you've still got Spurs fans whinging. And I look at them and think, well, all right, I can understand where you're going from because you do feel passionate about your own team. You've got Dr. Evil there fucking hiding away, you know, pretending nothing's wrong. No, sorry, mate, you know, Dr. Evil Levy. Yeah, it's actually, if I think about it, isn't his surname an anagram of evil with a Y? I'm sure it is. Levy, evil. Fuck. Bizarre. You've heard it first. But they're whinging about that, and I'm thinking, you haven't experienced how we were. And that I can remember that late 80s relegation hurt really fucking bad. You know, the Villa defeat, the Villa Park fucking relegation from the Prem, which I think was our first relegation. That fucking bit a bit hard as well. You know, never mind, Ashley had said, oh, we'll come straight back. Chris Hughton, I'm going to provide you some money when it does. Chris Hughton, of course, gets them up, and what is like, oh, no, I don't want it. So this is where it all comes back to. That when you've actually got a manager, and I'm going to say this right here and now. Eddie Howe used to be at Bournemouth. I watched Bournemouth. I used to see that team, and that team were cruising steady. They were nicely and teams were going to fucking the South Coast and losing, and they were getting beaten, and his teams were still beating them, and he was an alchemist. There's no fucking question about it. What he has done with that team, you know, I gather a fan came up to him and said, oh, Eddie, blah, 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 blah. And he was almost like, calm down. He thought, kind of, without saying those words, he said, are you going to come and say, well, let's see what we can do. But what a fucking response is that? It's, well, let's see what we can do. It was the modest, you know, there's no animation with him. When you watch him, he's as calm as and collected doing post-match interviews as the rare occasions you watch Bob Paisley in the 1970s and 80s. And, well, you know, it was not too bad, you know, blah, blah, blah. Bob, I used to watch them, and I miss that man so much. As just as a person in football. The way I miss, you know, the likes of Clough and, you know, you see Bobby Robson, another classic example, you know. was sad recently that Terry Neal of Arsenal had died, because there's a bloke who, innocuous bloke who never hurt anybody. He wouldn't go on telling, oh no, fucking, you know. You had gobshites like Laurie McMenemy and fucking that sort of crowd and what have you. It got real twats. You know, I'm sorry, Laurie. I know I'm picking on, but you got those gobby idiots going on there. Ron Atkinson, fucking hell, there was the original gobshite. The idiot. Cloughy didn't just do him once, he did him 3 times with 3 different shit footballers from Nottingham Forest. The first was Gary Birtles, the second was Peter Davenport. Where's a fucking pup if ever he bought him? And realistically, not being horrible here, Neil Webb didn't exactly fucking set Old Trafford alight either. So that's 3 that Cloughy palmed off him. You know, but you know, that United weren't getting Method. Fuck that. I'm keeping Johnny Method. He can fucking stick the ball in from 35 yards. I've sod that shit. But now, reflecting on current situations here, you know, people are all like, we're going to screw Southampton on Sunday. Apparently, that, funny enough, is one of those. That's a banana skin. I think that'll be more of a comfortable win, but they're going to make Southampton are going to make it fucking tough for us. And I think anybody who thinks, oh, it's going to be a cruise, needs to be reminded that I think they're the team that have just destroyed Arsenal's hopes of fucking winning the title, which City more or less carpeted over. You know, it was Southampton who pulled the bare floorboards up. Whoops, City just filled the fucking gap in. I'm sorry, Arsenal, but I think you're buried. You really are buried. It's going to need a miracle of Man City falling apart, maybe getting a crucifixion in the Bernabeu, Madrid. If City gets screwed by Madrid, that's going to affect their league season. But otherwise, no. You know, if City ride out the thing against Madrid but still lose, the league championship is theirs. There's no fucking arguing about it, all right? And as for the FA Cup, well, City might just, but like, again, Chelsea supporter at Sports Direct was like, oh, I really hope Man City win. So do I, you know, frankly, you know, because they're a bloody good team. Pep's a bloody good manager. He's got a bloody good squad. Haaland is just ridiculous. You know, he is going to be the personality to have changed, you know, in terms of debutants for the league, for the Premier League. You can't look beyond him. However, Isak isn't far fucking short off his tails. You know, I think he's not on the same magnitude as Haaland, but he's around there. You know, and we've got to remember, we're talking about a league debutant here. We're talking about a new player. You know, you'd only then have to look at what's his name, Darwin Núñez, whatever the name is, the Uruguayan, who frankly I don't think has been that fucking big a thing, and we were supposed to end up with him. If he joined us, I think he'd have been fucking incredible. But it's like I said, if Maddie can see this and go, do you know, fuck London, I might brave the cold. Fuck it, you know, get in there with a good gang. Your Bruno there. We need another Brazilian. There's no fucking messing about here. We need a good fringe Brazilian to come in there. When you've got a trinity of them, that's when things are ticking. All right, it worked for Milan. Milan had three of the greatest fucking Dutch players of the late 1980s there in one squad. All right, and then everybody else came in behind them. You forget that fucking Hullet, Rijkaard and Van Basten. You know, the Germans, fucking hell, Inter had 3 World Cup winning Germans in their squad, one of which actually scored the bastard fucking goal in the final, you know. He won the World Cup for them against a nasty bunch of cheating Argentine scum, you know. And I don't care if the bloke's dead or not. They were fuckers. They were only interested in playing and playing and playing everything to get they cheated their way to that fucking final, and they ruined Italia 90, those shitbags. Thank God for Andreas Bremer. So anyway, getting off the tangent, getting back to the thing there. Isak, he's not in the same magnitude as Haaland, but he's still a bloody good asset. And this is what I like. I think this is what I want to see Eddie doing. If there's one hope I've got for this club and for this team long term, it's that we buy unknowns and we turn them into fucking superstars, you know, because he can do genius with a Bournemouth team years and years ago. Like I said, I was going back to that thing of reminding myself here. Whoops, pulled it all round. I can remember admiring them and I'm thinking, fuck, I wish he was in charge of us. I really do. There's a bloke that would really do something, and we get him. And it was a case of, well, can he blah 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 blah. I love the fact that the Saudis sit back from all this. They're just letting the position and the team do the talking, you know, modestly working their way. And that's magnificent. And I saw something last night. Apparently there were like Reds and Blues combining Liverpool and Everton against protesting about, you know, this blood money and all this other stuff. You know, it's got to go eventually. You know, people have really got to get the grip of this, because we're not going anywhere now, and neither are the Saudis. They're not going anywhere either. You know, accept it, get on with it, or do you know what? Follow show jumping. It's as easy as that. Go and follow show jumping. You know, get into synchronized swimming. You know, park running. Do fucking 3-day eventing. Hey, you know, curling. There's a nice idea. Brushy, brushy, brushy. Hey, guess what? You have the cleanest houses in the world as your practice for your fucking sport. Otherwise, fuck off. Easy as nuts. Fuck off. You know, it's as easy as that. Anyway, so this thing's gone on for a lot longer than I planned to. I'm going to head off. See you later. Take it easy. Enjoy Sunday.